I've been telling you about the NDP's unconstitutional beer tax for quite some time now. They've actually changed the way that they tax breweries and importers twice in less than a year, and now they've started to give grants to only Alberta brewers. This is clearly a protectionist measure that not only stifles free trade and favors only certain Alberta businesses, but it's going to cost us. Of course, we're talking about the NDP here. The government has promised millions from taxpayers' pockets to Alberta-based breweries. So that actually means that even the bigger outfits will get a big chunk of cash simply for brewing beer in Alberta. But what about Alberta-based beer dealers like importer Artisan Ales? The company brings in brews from places like Quebec and Europe that we would otherwise not have a chance to check out. And I actually had a chance to talk to Bo Vitanov, owner of the company, about how this tax is affecting her business.
Our beer import agency was affected when the NDP government of Alberta changed the beer markup rules in October of 2015. And our business, because we bring in beer from the province of Quebec, was severely impacted. The tax went up 525% on our products.
Beer importers and beer producers outside of Alberta are the ones that are suffering. The NDP hiked prices up to $1.25 per litre of production, costing some businesses an extra $1.15 per litre overnight. And we're talking about thousands of litres of beer being produced. But now I have some good news to report. Artisan Ales is now pairing up with the Canadian Constitution Foundation to fight the NDP's illegal tax. And instead of going to court, they've started a complaint based on the Agreement on Internal Trade. Now, this is much different than taking this issue to court, as CCF lawyer Derek Frum explains.
A panel will be assembled to resolve this dispute. And this panel will decide whether or not the government of Alberta's tax and rebate program violates the Agreement on Internal Trade. If it does, if they find that it does, then the government of Alberta will be forced to comply and will be forced to change this program. Now, under the AIT, this panel can only decide whether or not this program violates this trade agreement. It is not a determination of whether or not it violates the Constitution. This program, in my opinion, very clearly violates the Constitution of Canada. But again, it's just so expensive to go to court to have your rights enforced that this alternative process under this trade agreement was a much more palatable option for us and our clients.
We also talked about the chances of the challenge being successful, what this means for Albertans, and how you can help here.
We could very well be the first complaint of this variety that has ever been accepted under the AIT. Now, why is this important? Is because this area of the AIT has not really been fully fleshed out yet. No government in Canada has had to defend itself against this type of complaint. And so this is really an example of David battling Goliath. Our interest in this is having Albertans and all Canadians freed from the shackles of these unconstitutional regulations and rules and have our rights vindicated so that we can have the rights that were guaranteed to us by the Constitution. As a charitable organization, we would like listeners, if they're interested in this, if they would consider donating to the Canadian Constitution Foundation to uphold the rights of all Canadians, and in particular Artisan Ales, the rights of all Canadians to interprovincial free trade. Interprovincial trade barriers accounts for some $50 to $120 billion in lost economic growth annually. This is an important issue that impacts upon the economic freedom and the economic well-being of all Canadians.
Bo also talked to me about what she hopes the outcome of the AIT challenge will accomplish.
In a perfect world, what we would see is a rollback of the system to something that's consistent sort of Canada-wide, where you have a small brewers tax. So in other words, a lower rate for microbreweries, but for microbreweries, across the board, not picking a specific area to give a lower rate to, which contravenes free trade law. So what we would ultimately want is for this government to follow rules and laws like everybody else has to.
Of course, the Agreement on Internal Trade challenge isn't the only pushback that the NDP are facing over this new tax. The province has a court case unfolding that was initiated by Steam Whistle Brewery based out of Ontario over this illegal tax. And I told you about the NDP's new petition that they've started in order to try and gain support for their new protectionist grant program. Well, I want to start a counter petition. A petition to let the NDP know that their illegal tax on beer is wrong and that protectionist policies are for socialists and don't belong in a democratic country. Go to BeerFreedom.ca and sign our petition. Let's see if we can get more signatures than the NDP does, and let's actually help Artisan Ales and the CCF with their AIT challenge. One of the major benefits of amalgamating in 1867 was the premise of free trade. That's not a reality in Canada. Let's push back against these illegal trade barriers. Again, go to BeerFreedom.ca and show your support for free trade in our own country. For TheRebel.media, I'm Holly Nicholas.
Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of The Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.